Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kimura, chairing the Board of Directors meeting of Nissan Motor Company Limited. I would like to make an announcement of the new top leadership lineup. Nissan Motor Company Limited's Board of Directors today met to appoint the current Nissan Senior Vice President and President of Dongfeng Motor Company Limited, Mr. Makoto Uchida, as Representative Executive Officer and Chief Executive Officer CEO of the company. In addition, the board appointed current Mitsubishi Motors Corporation Chief Operating Officer COO Mr. Ashwani Gupta as Representative Executive Officer and Chief Operating Officer of Nissan Motor Company Limited. Nissan's Senior Vice President, Mr. Jun Seki, has been appointed to the position of Vice Chief Operating Officer, Vice COO, reporting to Mr. Gupta. The appointments are aimed to be effective no later than January 1st next year. With regards to this resolution, let me make some comments. The board concluded that Mr. Uchida is the right leader to drive the business forward. In selecting the CEO, Nissan's nomination committee led the nomination process and assessed candidates thoroughly in line with the new three-committee governance structure established in June. We expect Uchida-san to lead the company as one team, immediately focus on the recovery of the business and revitalize the company into the new Nissan. We look forward to Mr. Ashwani Gupta and Mr. Jun Seki fully leveraging their expertise and experience to support the new Chief Executive Officer. Mr. Makoto Uchida, Mr. Ashwani Gupta, Mr. Jun Seki's career are shown in the attachment. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention. The chair of the nomination committee, Mr. Toyoda, is joining me. So we are happy to entertain your questions. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kimura. We would like to entertain questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We will bring you a microphone. So please use the microphone when you are asking a question. I'd appreciate if you can limit the number of questions to 2 per person. Thank you for your kind understanding. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Yes, the person at the front. NHK Sasaki is speaking. Thank you for this opportunity. In selecting the new top leader, while the deadline was end of October, it's a bit early than the deadline. Why are you making an announcement at this point of time? What are the reasons for selecting these people as a top leader? Please be elaborate. I said the deadline will be the end of October. And we determined the deadline and we have been holding discussion toward this deadline. I thought sooner the better. That has been the consensus of the members. And the relevant directors held a discussion, and as a result, we made a decision. And if we worked hard to make a decision speedy. And if we are to make a speedy decision, we decided to make an announcement. There were a lot of discussions made, and this is the result of the consensus of all the members. So I believe the process was very smooth, and the consensus resulted in the announcement today. That's how I see this. Yes, did that answer your question? Yes, okay. There's another question. Uchida-san is qualified leader to drive the business forward. Could you be elaborate? What made you think that he is qualified as a leader to drive the business forward? I'm chairing the nomination committee. My name is Toyoda. Three gentlemen have a lot of experience working abroad, and in the case of Uchida-san, since childhood, he has been traveling around the world, living abroad. In addition to this global experience, originally he joined Nisho Iwai, a trading company in Japan, and then joined Nissan and has been working at Renault, and now he is heading Dongfeng. So in one sense, he has a diverse and wide range of experience. So because we are in the difficult time, he will be qualified as a leader of the company. In addition, with regards to alliance, it's the same for all three gentlemen. When I interviewed these gentlemen, because the alliance is important, he said that he wanted to join Nissan. That's how much all gentlemen are attaching importance on alliance, and alliance was what he admired to join the company, and that was very impressive to hear. So he is a person who attach importance of alliance. He values alliance, and as the biggest business challenge of Nissan is acceleration or speeding up. Speedy decision making is a challenge that Mr. Uchida raised, and to this end, he said that he wants to empower people as much as possible. So, based on consensus, unanimous consent, we decided to ask Uchida-san to take on the CEO position. Thank you. Yes, anyone else with additional question? Yes, go ahead. Excuse me, Yomiuri Shimbun, Akiyama is speaking now. First point, today nomination committee was held and you made a report at the board today. Is that true? And in nomination committee and board meeting, there were no, what kind of opinions were expressed, or was it based on the unanimous consent, and was it quick? This is my first question. Of course, nomination committee held a discussion, and nomination committee made a proposal at the board, and the board resolved it. That's the process that we followed. Unanimous consent, the resolution was based on. Let me elaborate. CEO, who should be the new CEO, was the start of the discussion. But at the end of the day, we decided on CEO and COO as well as the vice COO. We believe that this is a better structure. And at the end of the day, we decided to announce the names of the three names. Of course, there were a lot of discussions made, and there were different comments raised. So as a result of all the discussions, we decided on this solution. Everyone was convinced with this solution. Excuse me, another question. Acting CEO Mr. Yamauchi's name is not seen. Why was he dropped from this candidates? All the candidates had different career background and different strength. Today, Nissan is going to reborn. A new Nissan is very important to be demonstrated. In that sense, we selected the people who can represent the new Nissan in a strong way or obvious way. So that is why we decided on these people. Okay, second row. Second row. Asahi Shimbun Tomoda is speaking. Vice COO is newly created. Why? Could you elaborate? And the second question, the acting CEO, Mr. Yamauchi, what will happen to him after January 1st? These are the two questions.
まず、バイス
Regarding Vice COO, Nissan is facing adversities and we have to surmount the difficulties and be a leading automaker of the world and be the leading automotive group. In doing so, with these three people, we expect them to demonstrate diverse leadership, and this is preferable as we surmount the adversity. That's how we agreed on based on unanimous consent. These three gentlemen, at least, are common in three things. One, which I referred to earlier, all of them are global citizens, international, just like Mr. Uchida, and they attach a importance on alliance, and they are motivated to do a speedy decision making. These are common themes among the three. In addition, Japanese person is Uchida-san, and Mr. Gupta is originally from India, and Mr. Junseki from the engineering community. With these three leaders, Uchida-san will be supported by Mr. Gupta and Mr. Seki, and we believe that this structure is the best way to surmount the difficulties that the company is facing. That's what we have agreed. And with regards to Yamauchi-san, this will be subjected to the further discussion. At least CEO, COO, and Vice COO. He will not be appointed to these three positions, but there are other available positions within the company, and that should be subjected to further discussion. Thank you. Okay, yes, Hans?
Thank you. Excuse my question in English, if I might. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about what the midterm business plan will be going forward. Is Saikawa-san's business plan now basically off the record? It's through 2022. Is that now scrapped? And what are if we are getting a new business plan, what are the main objectives of that you think should be prioritized?
The most important thing for the company is a recovery plan. Performance recovery plan is underway. And the main player here is Mr. Seki, who is driving the recovery plan. And performance recovery should be completed, and this is the biggest challenge that we are addressing. Midterm plan, is that what you meant by midterm plan? If that is the case, this team will be implementing this recovery plan.
I'm sorry, are they going to carry through with Mr. Saikawa's plan or introduce a new plan?
Of course, it's up to these three gentlemen to decide, but at least we, the board members, expect the three gentlemen to implement the existing plan. We are counting on them. The chair, yes, I totally agree with Mr. Toyoda. At the end of the day, the new leadership, it's up to the new leadership to decide. I'm always concerned about Saikawa-san's plan or the plan created by Mr. Saikawa. This is often discussed within this company. People always talk about who made the midterm plan, but midterm plan is Nissan's midterm plan, and everyone is pursuing the goal of this midterm plan. So we shouldn't put an individual's name on top of this plan. I think this is the problem about this company. So in that sense, midterm plan is not owned by Mr. Saikawa. This is Nissan's revival plan. So in that sense, as Toyota-san said, these three people will be working to complete it. And in the midway, general business plan may be revised in the middle of the way. But it's up to the new leadership to consider and decide with their feet on the ground. And that's what I'm counting on them to do.
はい、ありがとうございます。
Okay, thank you.
I'm Yann Rousseau with the French newspaper Les Echos. I had a question on the other major issues that you talk about, if I understand right, is the position of Mr. Hari Nada. Some of the directors wanted to question his position in the company as the head of legal, as he has been involved in the investigation and the internal audit against Mr. Ghosn and Mr. Kelly. And they were wondering if it was normal for him to stay at the head of the legal team. What did you decide concerning this gentleman?
今日
Today, we are making an announcement about the top leadership. So I will refrain from making any comment on that matter.
Sorry. この会見
This press conference is about the new top leadership. That's how I understand this.
はい。
Yes? Yes? Yes, the person at the front.
産経新聞の高
Sankei Shimbun Takahashi speaking. Next January 1st, you are aiming to appoint them. Could you elaborate on this timing? Because, for example, you can convene the externally shareholders meeting, and that is why you are aiming at January 1st. I mean, what's the reasoning behind January 1st? If you look at the current positions, that's self-explanatory because Uchida-san is heading Chinese operation. He's a president of an entity, and Mr. Gupta is a COO of Mitsubishi Motors. So in that sense, we need the approval and support of each company and undergo the official decision-making process. So at latest, it says, but it can be earlier than January 1st, but it will take until January 1st. That was our anticipation. A shareholders meeting will come after this.
あれこれは
By the way, they are going to be appointed directors as well? Am I right to say this? At least, in order to appoint them directors, we need shareholders' approval. Externally, shareholders meeting will be required. So, as if they were to be appointed to the new position in January 1st or earlier than that, until the shareholders meeting takes place, they will be non-directors.
はい。
Yes?
Sean McLean, Street Journal. Two questions. First of all, you spoke of the need for quick decision making, and I appreciate the board has acted very quickly here. But it seems you've chosen not to make a choice. You've selected everybody on the short list, it seems, to run the company. Do you really believe that these men can make fast enough decisions in a decisive fashion if they're working as a committee? Can you just explain some of your the nomination committee's thinking here? And secondly, is there a reason why, I guess this is part of the first question, but is there a reason why you just didn't pick a single person to run Nissan as opposed to, you know, three men? Why not just a single person?
Yes, related to first question, this is the decision made by the nomination committee. Speed is important, and there were right persons in front of us, so that is why we came to this conclusion. So it's not about speed, whether it's late or fast. If you think about all the conditions, we reach this conclusion. And why isn't it a one single person? Well, there are different thoughts around this. Looking at the current situation of Nissan, strong leadership is expected. Yes, but on the other hand, strong leadership, there are two sides of coins to the strong leadership. So we thought that the group leadership, where they can support each other, will be much more transparent and can make a fair decision. So intentionally, we are appointing CEO, COO, and Vice COO. That's the reasoning behind it.
はい。
1番目
And the first question, in terms of the process of what happened, let me add what happened. This nomination committee process, as I said in the previous press conference, in the end of July 24th, we started this nomination committee process. And at that time, we used to have 100 people in the list. And we have been narrowing down the number. And out of these 100 people, there were non-Japanese people, Japanese people, and there were people who are from auto industry and no-auto industry. In one sense, we use a consulting firm to conduct interviews, narrow down the list, and on September 9th, we narrowed down the number to 6. And considering the current status of Nissan, we wanted a person who had a deep knowledge of auto industry and narrow down the list. And based on this thinking, we conducted detailed interviews in the past, and we interviewed these people together or separately, and based on the results of the interview, we reached this conclusion. Therefore, time-wise, it took 3 months or so. So during 3 months, in terms of the number of people, from a big list, long list, we narrowed down the list, and today we reached a conclusion to decide on these 3 gentlemen. This is how we made the decision. Let me add, since September, we didn't start all the discussion from September 9th. We have been doing it even before that.
はい。
Yes. Yes.
日本放送は
Nippon Hoso Hatanaka is speaking. Let me make sure this to be effective no later than January 1st, 2020. So until then, Yamauchi-san will remain as an active COO because in the end of this month, Tokyo Motor Show will take place, I understand. And for the top management, this is one big event to appear. So who will be there at the Tokyo Motor Show? I don't think this is the right question to ask you, but this is what I want to know.
暫定
Acting CEO will remain until end of December or January 1st. In the ordinary Japanese company, in January, a new CEO is announced, and in April, they are officially appointed. That's the general common practice. So this lead time, until then, the current CEO will remain in the position, and we will go through different procedure, including the job handover.
はい。
Yes, we are running out of time. So, yes, do you have a question? Last question. Okay, this will be the last question.
産経新聞
Sankei Shimbun, Imamura is speaking. Mr. Gupta is in Mitsubishi Motors in an important position. Mitsubishi, have you coordinated with the Mitsubishi Motors? Where are you? Until you reach the conclusion today, how have you been coordinating with Mitsubishi Motors, and where are you today in this progress?
調整を
rather than attempting to coordination, I will ask Mitsubishi Motors to do the coordination. We have already notified the Mitsubishi Motors about this decision. So it doesn't say it's November 1st effective. We will wait until January effective no later than January 1st, 2020, because we want to coordinate with Chinese entity where Uchida-san belongs to and coordinate with Mitsubishi Motors where Mr. Gupta belongs to today. During this time, we need the job handover to take place. So for a smooth transition, we are saying that this should be effective no later than January 1st. So you got an approval from these entities in China and Japan? At least they haven't disapproved it. They haven't disagreed with it. Okay, thank you. Okay, it's time. So with this, we would like to conclude the press conference. Thank you for joining. Thank you for staying with us until late at night. Thank you.